It's weird. I remember I used to think I'd never be able to wear my nose ring to a job interview. Well, as in, I'd tell myself that I would definitely take it out, but then it's like, what if I end up getting that job and then I can't really go into my first day of work with this nose ring on all of a sudden, so I've got to kind of live this double life until eventually, like, or inevitably, I completely lose sight of my
Identity over time.
I wake up one morning and find I have no desire to wear the nose ring at all anymore, and I mean, I don't know, we forget things, we lose sight of little things like that, they slip away, they happen, and then they don't.
Essentially.
You know, now it's funny because in about like 90% of the cases, I'd never have to even think about taking my nose ring out. Actually, maybe even in some probably very few cases, I'd argue it helps make me seem more unique, creative. I mean, that's what people want, this image of a creative person. Anyway, I probably wouldn't want a job at any place that seriously takes my nose ring into consideration because I hardly remember it's there.
So it's kind of like from then I'm forced. It's much easier to observe than to be observed. Well, to present yourself, something that is present. It's much easier to capture your memory than your thoughts as you're having them. I think this is something that William James said in his Stream of Consciousness essay. At least for me,
I'm really bad at capturing my thoughts, I've noticed. Because what happens is I sit down and I think, and then my thoughts, they build up on one another. I traverse down a pathway of one thought, and then I suddenly remember my previous thought and wish I had incorporated it. I guess we all can't be
computers.
As a result, I end up pulling all these strings at once until, well, I'm not really sure when it stops. My brain is like a list. That's
a thought I had the other day. But
it's not an ordered list.
Oh well.
It's an unordered list. The more favorable HTML choice, one could argue. It's like a thought I had earlier today was that my brain works like the Atari Pong game. And I'm sure I've had this thought before. I mean, I know I have.
And I mean, that's certainly not a metaphor that's difficult to understand, since like everyone's brains today kind of work like the stagnated clusterfuck of input and output binary switches in the form of beeps and vibrates and notas. It's in our blood now. It's the digital superage, stimuli or it didn't happen, stimuli and chill and stimuli. I don't know. I remember this one time my high school art teacher like staring into my soul and having an epiphany about how I needed to practice art, and he said basically I needed to follow my scatterbrained thoughts and carry out an idea the second I have it. And do it as quickly as possible until I have another idea, in which case I was to carry out that new one out on a new sheet of paper. He described it something like saying the way I need to get things done is by quick and saturated impulse making.
No thought, no dedication, purely making like rapid fire. Maybe it's because my Mars is in Aries. As I'm saying this now, it seems so obvious, but at the time I was an alien in my class. I was really unable to have the patience for small details and to see an art piece through. I think I spent most of my life trying to become more detail-oriented, but I remember that moment vividly. I guess it's always profound when someone tells you something about yourself that you never thought of. I guess I had no choice but to believe him. When I'm forced to design myself,
and which was that I needed to do,
one day reading into my soul and discovering how I needed to practice.
18-year-old
self-art teacher reading into my soul and telling me my practice needed to be something like fast, quick, and multiple. This random advice my 18-year-old self-art teacher gave me back when I couldn't paint.
It's weird
I still remember this piece of advice from one of my first art teachers when I was about 18 years old, who told me I needed to practice in a way that was to create endless iterations of something really fast. He told me once I had an idea I needed to paint it right away until I had another idea, in which case I was supposed to take out a new sheet and draw. My 18-year-old art teacher reading my soul one time and telling me that I needed to remember one of my first art teacher's advice once. However, sometimes I wonder.